Hi, morning. This is Cherian Kuruvila, a business mentor and a coach for the last 10 years. This is a continuation of my video series. I had started a video series on leadership where I spoke about leadership being a mindset and not just about titles. It's much, much more than titles. It's a lot more. One aspect I touched on in the last video was about dispensable leadership or delegative leadership. Right? So today I'm going to spend more time on that in this particular video. Right? Now, the word dispensable leadership is not something that is so commonly used. Now, I think that's a word which I coined. I keep using that with a lot of my clients. And recently, for instance, ever since the lockdown in March, April, May, June, a lot of the clients which I used to deal with, I used to go through every week or every 2 weeks, and spend a lot of time with them and their team. Uh, I've not been able to go for a variety of reasons, and we've chosen that it's safer to go virtual than be real, face to face. And what has been so inspiring is that despite the hiccups they went through in the month of April, in the month of May and June, and even in July, many of these entrepreneurs and organizations are doing pretty well. Right? They're doing pretty well. In fact, so I've been joking to them saying that, look, you're doing so well without me, which means my job is done, right? And I think that comes from a position of security, right? When a leader or a mentor or a coach is very, very secure in their own mind, right? They're not trying to cling on to a role or a assignment or a engagement, right? Because I always felt that my job is done when I'm not required, which means I have now brought the team up to a level where they can run the show on their own, right? I can be there for them. Can always be available for them on call or whenever they have a particular area that they want to touch upon or get some input on. But it doesn't require that kind of a very active engagement. Now, going back to my corporate days where I spent almost 30 years as a leader in a variety of industries and roles, right? I always felt that the style which I adopted, which worked beautifully for me and also for my team in the process, was a very delegative kind of a style, which meant that you had people in your team that you had hired, you had trained, you had groomed up in such a way that you knew that once a job was given to them, it would get done, right? Uh, they were empowered enough to take calls on their own. I remember there used to be times when some of my leaders would come to me and say, "Boss, we need your approval on this," and I would look at them and say, "So why do you need my approval? Right? It's very much something that you can decide." No, but it'd be nice to get your approval. I said, "It's okay. I mean, we have already agreed on certain empowerment metrics. We've already agreed on what you can do and what you need to come to me for. So I don't want to get involved in more than 20% of the decisions that you take. 80% is something that you and your team have to take." Initially, they were uncomfortable because they felt more secure if the boss also had put a signature to it or said yes to it, right? But after a while, they realized that I'm not going to put my signature to it, right? And then they started taking those decisions on their own, right? And today, I'm very happy that all of them have done extremely well in their careers, in their lives, and uh, it also made me as a leader, gave me so much more time. I remember once my wife came to my office and was chatting with me. She saw me sitting in my room. I was running a pretty large operation, doing pretty well. The operation was very successful, among the top performers nationally. And my room just had a table, a laptop, and one piece of paper. That's all. My table was clean. And she actually asked me, "Do you really do any work?" And I just smiled and said, "The work gets done, right? The work happens, right?" So the important thing is when a leader is not getting sucked up into day-to-day operations, not getting sucked up into every small decision, not getting sucked up into every small meeting, right? Where the team does not have to keep coming to him or her for every small, action moving forward. It frees up so much of the time of the leader. Frees up so much of the time of the leader. Leader is able to think more long-term, more strategically. What can I do for the organization? What can I do for the team? What can I do to innovate? The amount of free time that you get also ensures that you get the kind of work-life balance that most leaders struggle with. I coach a lot of very, very senior leaders, and for them it's 10 hours, 12 hours, 15-hour days that they work, right? Where do you get time for yourself? And I think uh, that is where I bring in this whole aspect of the situational leadership, where you use a directing style, where to use a coaching style, where to use a supporting style, and where to use a delegating style, and how they can actually move many of their leaders into the delegating box. It's not easy. You need to first coach them properly, then you need to support them, give them responsibilities. It's okay if they make some mistakes, let them make mistakes. Don't punish them and pull them up because they make mistakes, because you give them the authority to make mistakes, right? And reach a stage where you know that once work is given to them, it'll get done. It does not require 10 follow-ups, right? So to me, dispensable leadership is a very, very powerful form of leadership, right? The leader can sit back and say, look, I know the work will get done, right? I can take on much, much more responsibilities. I have people in my team who are self-motivated, and they can actually run the show on their own, right? Even if I'm away for a week or 2 weeks, if I'm traveling, if I'm not well, if I'm on work, right, the show will go on. And this is one question I ask a lot of the leaders. What will happen if you go on leave for 2 weeks? Will your department run smoothly or will it not, right? And many of them give me slightly edgy kind of responses saying that, yeah, I think it'll run, but so whereas a very highly secure leader knows that whether he or she is there or not, the show will run, and show will run well. And I think that comes from the security of that leader, and I think that is something that I would say is a very, very good attribute for a leader to develop, right? Uh, Being dispensable means you have done your work, you are now ready for the next role, right? And that's something which I always kept using. After 2 years, I would tell my boss, okay, now what next, right? Uh, I think my work is done, right? Now, can I take on a different role? Can I take on a different? And that's how right through my career, I moved through different locations, different roles, different industries. I never was worried or insecure about the fact that, uh, will I be able to, manage a variety of leaders under me in such a way that, I don't need to get into every small nitty-gritty of the operations or the business, right? So this is my request. Leaders who are insecure, leaders who like people coming to them all the time, who are sort of worried about losing their authority, who want control, I think they are the leaders that actually don't grow in the system. They get stuck somewhere along the corporate ladder, right? Making yourself dispensable is, I think, a great way of telling your boss, my work is done, what next, right? And let the pressure be on the boss to tell you what next, and not the pressure on you to prove that you're ready for the next one, right? So keep this in mind. I think a lot of this, what I'm talking about, as I said, is again based on experiences, largely experiential, largely based on the coaching engagements that I have with a lot of senior leaders across multinationals and corporates. And these are things which can actually make a huge difference to the success of a leader in the current environment, right? Make yourself an asset to the organization by being dispensable. I know it's a bit controversial, but I think it works well. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Bye.